Thank you, Madam Speaker. And it may be indeed that this is a rare case of a genuinely open select committee process, because we on this side of the House are taking a similar approach. We think it's a fair question, and we look forward to a select committee process which explores not only the core question of whether this is a matter to be put to referendum, but exactly what that question should be. So in principle, yes, and that's what first readings are all about. we accept that the time is probably about right to ask the electorate whether they would think it a good idea to give this lot an additional year in government. This lot widely, us lot. And I do note that there has been already some criticism, and I just want to identify that. Very eminent person has suggested that there should be an overarching review, and there is always space for a constitutional review. And other things that have been going on in this House and elsewhere would indicate that might be a good idea, but we tend to think that this is an issue which is sufficiently discrete that it is appropriate to consider it alone. It has been noted, this is a parliament without a huge amount of checks, other than mixed member proportional representation and the coalition arrangements that brings. But at the same time, governments have routinely been criticised of all colours for short-term decision-making and pressured decision-making and rushed decision-making, and there is at least an argument that this will lead to higher quality decisions with a longer time horizon. We have reservations about the need to start meddling through legislation with standing orders, and recognise that this is a relatively unusual thing to do. And by and large, the House itself manages its standing orders, and it is, whilst it's not unknown, I think it's done in respect of some regulations review and disallowance, it's very unusual for legislation to dictate back to the House what its standing orders should be, and therefore, in a sense, in a backdoor kind of way, bind future parliaments. So, yep, we've got some concerns around that. Also, we are not excited about the idea of no one being quite sure how long Parliament will be until a decision has been made by the Prime Minister. That's a kind of uncertainty which I'm not sure the electorate would be happy with. And I guess the other thing is that the question then lacks clarity. A clean question is a good question, and if the question is 4 years or 3 years, yes or no, that's a question that's very easy to communicate and to discuss. Whereas talking about whether, and it's pretty arcane stuff to ordinary New Zealanders, whether there should, how many seats on select committee an opposition party should have, that's not something that's going to be very exciting. Hey, it might be a good idea, but we're not sure that the two things need to be closely linked. And the other thing I'd just identify is this process, the process of forming a government can take long enough, and the additional wrangling of select committee positions and whether or not this proceeds may extend that and in fact have an obtuse effect of making it more difficult to form a government once an election decision has been made. So look, let's go and have a look. It may go no further. Maybe that the National Party doesn't support it, but we do. Who knows? That'd be an exciting day. But let's wait and see how it goes.
The question is that the motion be agreed.
Yeah, so Duncan Webb is pretty much echoing the concerns of the Ministry of Justice.
And echoing the concerns of my 97-year-old grandmother. Because that is exactly what she was. The biggest thing she was concerned about was how long am I voting these people in for?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions here. Like, are they going to lower the voting age to kind of make up for the fact that, yeah, we're going to have an extra year? Are they going to, it's like reducing the frequency of elections, right? May reduce costs, but only if the reduction in cost is greater than the reduction of democratic benefits.
Yeah. I mean, I'll put it this way. Currently, if you pass a piece of legislation that skips select committee, you don't have to have it reviewed. Could that be something? Now, a spirit of the law wasn't in practice, but the spirit was the search and surveillance bill passed under urgency that had a 1-year sunset clause, so the bill would be renewed under a proper full select committee process.
Well, that's part of the flaw in the logic here, is that they think that, if we get an extra year, we're going to make better bills. No, that's not necessarily the case. You can
not if you keep using truncated select committee processes, or, as you do in some cases, just completely skip select committee altogether.
I might have been asleep, but which of the three coalition parties campaigned on this?
ACT.
Okay.
As I say, it's an ACT bill. There are different things in there. We'll see later on the comments from Uncle Andy, because Uncle Andy makes some good points. But in general, it is an ACT bill as such, and I mean you can tell that when David Seymour is the ex-speaker.
Yeah, I mean, I do have concerns about some of the things that Andy Foster does bring up, mostly about the nature of our democratic system. People need to remember that we're a representative democracy. We're not a semi-direct democracy like Switzerland, and we're not a participatory democracy. So there is less opportunity for people to partake in policy decision-making and policy writing and stuff like that. We're not the same as Switzerland.
No, and we're not ready to be like Switzerland at this point because we don't educate people enough when it comes to referendums.
And the other thing is, the ACT Party has never required an extra year to get things broken. They managed it quite well in the 3-year term, even when they were running the Labour Party.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. News Guide, The Order, Paper